Let's get it on.
Well, nobody told me that with Vince McMahon gone, we'd only hear the phrase new and vicious Viking Raiders like twice on Smackdown, as opposed to like 70 times the week before. Come back, Vince. We need the new and vicious Viking Raiders. It's Wrestling Observer Live. It's Jim Valiant. Am I still new and vicious? I don't know. On one hand, Vince is gone and being held accountable for his actions. On the other hand, new and vicious. I just don't know how to feel. Either way, there's still a lot to talk about today at 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. We're live 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Sundays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. And Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, with me, Jim Valley. Coming up on the program today, the roast of Ric Flair last night, Starrcast 5 kicking off today. Ric Flair's last match and the whole cavalcade of stars on Sunday. With that, we'll talk about the influence and the career of Conrad Thompson and where I think he's going to go next. Plus, Drew McIntyre is going to clash at the Castle, but it's SummerSlam weekend and Roman Reigns isn't even on the Go Home show. Where can I get his schedule? Plus, AEW getting ready for Quake by the Lake or Quiver by the River, Rumble by the Puddle, Waterfall Guys, Broken Knees by the Seas. I don't know. Who comes up with these names? Plus, Stardom, New Japan have created or are creating a new women's championship. I will explain exactly what it means and where it fits in to the whole Stardom universe. And there's some good personal news to share with you. So stand by. It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live, Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
You're clear. So what's the good news?
I'm one step closer to getting my new kidney.
Hell yeah.
Met with my infectious disease doctor yesterday, and he's like, dude, you've been through a lot, but you just are very resilient. So I'm the effing king of recovery. It's what it is.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I spoiled it for everybody watching on YouTube, but oh well. They're already here. What do they care? They're probably already there.
I don't think that spoils anything, though. You could say that multiple times throughout the show.
Yes,
people would be juiced, I think.
It's very exciting.
Call today and see how much you can save. 800-871-9417. 800-871-9417. 800-871-9417. That's 800-871-9417. Terms and conditions apply. Financing is available with approved.
The mouse.
Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
At the United States.
You are listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. Wrestling Observer Live. It's Jim Valley, and yes, my mom did let me down. It's not a Ronda Rousey quote. My mom actually did let me down. But enough about that. I have some good news to share with you. As you know, I need a new kidney for my sickness in 2020, and I've had some struggles and some confusion on my road to recovery. Well, Friday, I met with the infectious disease doctor who's on the kidney transplant team, and he gave me his blessing. It's kind of a long meeting. For a while there, I thought that he was not going to move forward, but I was able to convince him. He's like, you're very susceptible. You've been through a lot of things, but you're very resilient. I want to tell him, dude, I'm the effing king of recovery. Don't you know this? But so we have cleared yet another hurdle. On to the next steps. And I've had some people ask, if you are interested in donating a kidney, it's a little early. I'll let you know what to do once we reach that point, but I do appreciate people reaching out and considering that. Other news, there is a brand new Jim Valley Because of the Fans t-shirt up at Pro Wrestling Tees right now. So whether you're Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, John Morrison, The Miz, Christian, Lacey Evans, or pretty much any pro wrestler, you too can point at the crowd, turn in a circle, and blame each and every one of you, because it's always because of the fans. So pick up the new Jim Valley Because of the Fans t-shirt today with a brand new design by James Vanderbeek, Jeremy Tate. You can check it out at the Observer store at ProWrestlingTees.com, just $19.99. I also saw somebody on Reddit created their own Because of the Fans website. Why didn't I think of that? See, this is why I fail. Because there's a .fans suffix now out there in the internet universe, and somebody came up with Because of the .fans, which is totally brilliant. They even said, thanks, Jim Valley, on the website. I appreciate that. So I didn't come up with it, but it lists many of the people who have turned over the years because of the fans. I hope this keeps going. It's brilliant. I'm very jealous that I didn't think of that. It's a great idea. So good on them for thinking of it. I wish them all the success in the world. Hey, I am on YouTube. This is streaming right now. If you want, you can go to my YouTube channel. Just search Jim Valley, and as the kids say, like and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button and that bell to keep up to date. I put up travel videos with my wife, and also the live Wrestling Observer lives on Saturday, so you can check those out each and every week. Since they don't put me up on the Observer YouTube. I just put it up on my own little YouTube channel. I make like $30, but it's something. So you can help me out by liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel. That would help me out too. All right, let's go to the phones. 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. That's where we find Ryan. Ryan from Cumberland. What's on your mind today?
Jim, I've been going to a lot of sort of like retirement matches almost, like Butch Flasher, Luke, and also Tony Atlas, and it seems like they've reinvented themselves with the way they wrestle. Like Tony Atlas wrestles a lot like, Coco Beware and Bushwhacker Luke does like this thing called Stunners. My question is, you think Ric Flair will reinvent himself for this match tomorrow and pull out some maybe moves that we're not used to him seeing?
Well, I know that he wanted to do a dive out of the ring. Thanks for the call, Ryan. I appreciate it. And Charlotte put the brakes on that and said, don't do that. I think we'll see some callbacks to some matches. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some callbacks to his Ricky Steamboat matches when they would go back and forth with the tests of strength. I think we'll see some things like that. I think we'll see some callbacks to his matches with Sting, maybe some Hulk Hogan things. Maybe, Jay Lethal did Black Machismo stuff. He could do some callbacks to Randy Savage. So yeah, I don't know that Ric Flair is going to pull out some moves per se. He certainly could, but I think more like moments in matches. We'll see probably a super kick and I love you, I'm sorry, that kind of thing. But I don't know that Ric Flair is going to do a stunner. I don't know that we're going to see some things out of context. I could see Ric Flair do a figure eight in, with sort of a kind of a thing, a nod to his daughter, things like that. But no, I wouldn't say that. It wouldn't make sense to me for Rick to copy people's moves, but I could see him paying homage to some of his greatest opponents, things like that. He and Steve don't have a lot of history together, but I could see Steamboat stuff, Sting stuff, Macho Man, Hulk Hogan stuff, things like that. Maybe even, some nods to Wahoo McDaniel and some other people that only he remembers. But yeah, we'll see some things like that. We'll see some callbacks, I think for sure. We'll talk more about Ric Flair and his matches and this weekend with Conrad Thompson and stuff. I want to get a little more into depth coming up a little bit later on. But touch base last night on a Smackdown. Still Vince's fingerprints on it, particularly in that first match, the good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. If that's not Vince, I don't know what is. Drew McIntyre defeated Sheamus. A great match. It went 25 minutes. I mean, those guys have so much history, they even talked about it. But the finish came when Sheamus slowly crawled over toward a shillelagh, and McIntyre watched and hit the Claymore kick for the win. And that means McIntyre, no surprise, is right now at least scheduled to take on the Universal Champion at Clash at the Castle. We'll see. I still wouldn't be surprised. There's talk of other matches at Clash of the Castle. We'll see if it's Tyson Fury or actually a Universal Championship match. After the match, Kayla Braxton interviewed McIntyre. She congratulated him, and McIntyre started to say that someone has to take the title off the part-time champions. Theory attacked McIntyre with the briefcase and beat him down. And at that point, McAfee pointed out that Theory is actually from Atlanta. That played into the end of the match, or the end of the show, where Theory came out afterwards when Brock Lesnar came out. Kind of an interesting thing as far as Brock Lesnar came out during Paul Heyman's special address at the end of the show as Heyman discussed Roman Reigns versus Lesnar for Saturday night. Talked about Reigns being the champion for 700 days. Promised that Reigns would be the last man standing in their matchup. And suddenly, Brock Lesnar's music hit to a huge pop, made his way to the ring. Heyman tried to give Lesnar the mic, but Lesnar backed Heyman into the corner, and just then, tying into the beginning of the show, Theory ran out, attacked Lesnar with the briefcase. Lesnar absorbed the shots and beat down Theory with the briefcase himself. Theory then rolled out of the ring, and then suddenly again, playing back to the opening of the show, Drew McIntyre showed up, hit the Claymore on Theory, and McIntyre and Lesnar had a stare down to end SmackDown. I got a message from a friend of mine who lives in Georgia, and his wife loves Roman Reigns. And he messaged me and he was like, "Can you believe that garbage on SmackDown?" And I looked at the show and I was like, I don't know, it just seemed like a pretty standard by the numbers, go home show. No, nothing really awful that I saw. And he messaged me and he goes, there was no Roman on the go home show. And he was like, his wife loves Roman. And he said, had they gone to SmackDown and maybe spent hundreds of dollars, which is what ringside tickets go for, they spent hundreds of dollars and then Roman doesn't show up. He's glad that they didn't go because they had a prior commitment. But I would imagine that there are people who paid to see Roman and were mad. I don't know what the big deal is, why Roman's schedule is the way it is. If he's cautious because of his health, or he's just that big of a star now, but it does seem like he's absent a lot, even by WWE standards. Coming up, talk about AEW Dynamite, things going on with AEW, and Ric Flair's retirement match, and the roast of Ric Flair, and the phenomenon of Conrad Thompson. Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live.
You're clear.
All righty. Can I have the audio? All righty. I don't know. Oh, heavens. Ah, hell.
What up? How are you? Pain in the ass, but nothing crazy. But pain in the ass.
What's a pain in the ass? Hey, can I get the audio?
On the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live. You can tweet me at Jim Valley. You can also find me on my YouTube channel where I do stream this. Not the Wrestling Observer one. My own. I've got to do everything on my own in my own little corner of the Figure 4 Empire. You can also call me at 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. But if you want to subscribe at Jim Valley on my YouTube, I would appreciate that. Smash that subscribe button. You know, Smackdown was a fine show, maybe a little unspectacular for a go home, but Summerslam Saturday night from Smashville for the undisputed Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar in a last man standing match. Women's Championship, Liv Morgan defending her title against Ronda Rousey. Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. In a grudge match, Pat McAfee takes on Happy Corbin. Undisputed Tag Team Championship match, the Usos defend against the Street Profits with special guest referee Jeff Jarrett. The United States Champion Bobby Lashley defends against Theory. Logan Paul in a grudge match against The Miz. In a no disqualification match, the Mysterios take on the Judgment Day. I don't know. This is fine. You know, what are the ingredients that make wrestling matches appealing? Is stakes, consequences. What's going to happen if one person wins and the other one loses? As a fan, the intrigue of how one side will go on after losing or how the other side will flourish after winning. Who could imagine CM Punk beating John Cena or Hulk Hogan beating Andre the Giant? Someday, WWE may present a match where you will actually wonder if someone could actually beat Roman Reigns. Someday. Maybe. Possibly. A girl can dream. And as I look at the card for SummerSlam and the potential winners and losers, my reaction is, who cares? If Brock wins, or Theory gets his hand raised, or there's 2 world titles, or 1 world title, or the World Tag Team titles change hands, or they don't. It just, what does it matter? It's just going to set up Clash at the Castle. I mean, and Clash at the Castle has already sold the majority of the tickets because fans in Great Britain are so starved they don't even need any matches announced. That's how emotionally abused the fans in Great Britain are. Certainly, they've implied that Drew McIntyre was going to main event in some form, but that's it. And sure, right now he's scheduled to face the Universal Champion, but things can always change. It might just be for storyline purposes. There could be an angle with Tyson Fury. There's been talk about that. Maybe that's going to happen. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but does it really matter? Which is kind of my point. The Usos and the Street Profits. It does kind of feel that the Street Profits are going to split up. Doesn't it feel like there's going to be a Marty Jannetty and a Shawn Michaels of the team, and we kind of know which one it's going to be? Maybe it's the one that's kind of been bulking up a little bit. Maybe you've kind of noticed that. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a barbershop window, literally or figuratively, in the future. But I don't know. That's just kind of my thought there. Ronda and Liv. Does it matter how long the emotional dream of Liv goes on? Bianca and Becky could go either way, could set up for WrestleMania or not. I mean, you go through the card, Miz and Logan Paul, McAfee and Corbin, Mysterios and Judgment Day. There's no match with any result that would be shocking and potentially change the trajectory of WWE. The only thing that might be interesting is the main event. And that's not because of the booking. It's because of the Vince McMahon sex scandal. We saw on that clip Linda McMahon say she doesn't want to talk about Vince McMahon and WWE, which is very interesting phrasing. Vince McMahon and WWE. I don't know this, Linda, but I don't know if you remember, but you were actually married to him. Vince is your husband. Linda didn't say, I don't want to talk about my husband. I don't want to talk about the family business. No. Very formal and very distant. I don't want to talk, didn't say even Vince. I don't want to talk about Vince McMahon and WWE. I mean, wow. I mean, I've seen shorter 10-foot poles. I've seen people who are happier cleaning up after their dog made a mess in a dog park. I've seen better faces. I mean, oh my God. You know who else probably doesn't want to talk about Vince McMahon? Dwayne Johnson. You know who else doesn't want Dwayne Johnson to talk about Vince McMahon probably? Movie studios. Dwayne Johnson has a new family cartoon out. Maybe you've seen the commercials. Super Pets. About the pets of DC superheroes like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. It might be cute. I might have to watch that on HBO Max when it comes out. It does look kind of cute. I do like the idea, but no one wants to derail a children's summer blockbuster by talking about a 77-year-old wrinkly penis. John Cena isn't around. Steve Austin has pretty much disappeared. And if Roman Reigns loses or splits up the Universal title at SummerSlam, it could indicate that plans have changed for WrestleMania. Of course, WWE has come this far. You might as well see through and stick it through and have Roman lose at WrestleMania, even if it isn't a Rock. Start building somebody else now. I mean, this is the building season. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's probably not great that WrestleMania is branded around Hollywood. I mean, look, I'm not saying anything, but there are a lot of people in a certain segment of the talk show space that talks about people like Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein and ties Hollywood into all of its own sex scandals, this morass of sex-crazed liberal weirdos, and they all tie everything together. And there's a vocal group of people who see Hollywood as this vile pit of decadence. And Vince's scandal and tying into WrestleMania Hollywood ties into that narrative for a group of people. And WWE has got a lot of talented performers. I always want to make that clear. I take nothing away from the people on WWE television and in the WWE ring. They are incredible athletes who sacrifice their bodies, who trust their well-being with their fellow performers, and almost always achieve when it comes to rings and what they're told to do, bell to bell. I've got nothing but respect for those performers. It's just that the booking and the situations that they're put in that fail them. And we'll see if those changes are going to start at SummerSlam. It's possible that with the new regime change, we could see some subtle changes. But there could be some stamps that the new people want to put on the WWE brand, some hints and some signs and some subtle messages here and there. But at the same time, things have to look steady for Wall Street. I expect good performances. I expect it will be a good show. It's just the booking has been flat. But I mean, WrestleMania is the season where things are made. And right now, this is the building season. This is where heels take hold. Sure, maybe we'll see some mild babyface victories like we do at SummerSlam, but this is where heels take hold. And we build to WrestleMania, where the baby faces are finally triumphant and they finally win. SummerSlam will be fun, but I think it'll be just another day at the office. Hey, I want to talk about the phenomenon of Conrad Thompson, and I think he's done a lot of amazing things. And I think there's a new trend that's coming in wrestling, where legends are going to be taking back their power. Talk about it next. Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live.
Are you 60 plus and love to travel?
You're clear.
You by low-cost airlines. Call us anytime, day or night, and save up to 75% on your airline and hotel reservations. We can help you save a ton of money to fly almost anywhere. We have inside discounts on over 500 airlines and 500,000 hotels worldwide. And when you call and mention the discount code 60+, we'll give you an extra free night with your qualified air and hotel reservation. Now you can get the best prices.
It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live, Sports Byline, Broadcasting Network, 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. Tweet me at Jim Valley, or get on my YouTube at Jim Valley on YouTube. Like and smash that subscribe button, as the kids say. Well, Sunday night, it's Ric Flair's last match. Friday night, they had the roast of Ric Flair. Last week, I gave you my free version. I didn't see the roast of Ric Flair, but reading Twitter and Reddit sounds like it went like most roasts in pro wrestling. Running down the card, Ric Flair's last match, Flair and Andrade Alidlo versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal with Karen Jarrett in their corner. Tony Schiavone and David Crockett on commentary. The rest of the show is like a super indie, a lot of different companies. The Impact World title with Jacob Fatu challenging champion Josh Alexander. Impact Knockouts World Title Triple Threat match. Deonna Purrazzo, Rachel Ellering challenging Jordan Grace. Impact match. The Wolves take on the Motor City Machine Guns. Kind of a dream tag team match there. MLW match. Killer Cross versus Davey Boy Smith Jr. A AAA Fatal 4-Way. Bandito, Black Taurus, Laredo Kid, and Ray Phoenix. New Japan, it's going to be Ren Narita versus Yuya Uemura, which is going to be a great match replacing the injured Clark Connors. Impact, an interpromotional match as the Briscoes take on the Von Erichs. Get it? Briscoes, Von Erichs. Legacy match, Ricky and Kerry Morton with Robert Gibson in their corner, taking on Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson with Arn Anderson in their corner. You know, won't be a great match, but it's a lot of fun legacy stuff. Four corners, independent dream match. Jonathan Gresham, Alan Angels versus Takeshita and Nick Wayne. So that should be quite a match. And then a bunkhouse battle royal for a boot, just like the Dusty Days in Crockett, with Bully Ray, James Storm, Crimson, Ricky Shane Page, Commander, Sin Body, Big Damo, Crowbar, Brian Myers, Adam Priest, Gringo Loco, Wolfie D, Cal Hero, other participants to be announced. So I mean, it's going to be quite a card, quite a super indie. And considering they don't have television, they've done a great job doing some appealing, very straightforward booking. And look, love him or hate him. And some people love him. Other people call him Conrad Thompson. But Conrad Thompson has got a vision, and he's definitely a businessman. He's taken his friendship with Ric Flair and Bruce Pritchard, integrated podcasts into his already impressive mortgage business. And it's very impressive. You know, as you may or may not know, I was on stage with Tony Schiavone hosting his seminar at the Charlotte Fan Fest in 2016. And Tony did a great job. And I was happy to be there helping Tony to shine. Don't get me wrong. Tony would have been great no matter who was on stage. I mean, certainly I'd like to think that my skills helped Tony, but in no way Tony could have done that. Pretty much you would have had to have been completely awful for Tony not to shine on his own on stage. But the point is, afterwards I whispered in Tony's ear that he was so good and so impressive that he should do a podcast. And don't misunderstand me. At no point did I think I should do the podcast. And even if I did do the podcast with Tony, I'm sure we'd have a fine little podcast and people would listen. It'd be a quality show, but there's no way that I could have parlayed it or launched Tony onto what Tony did. But that's what Conrad does. A lot of people think big, but Conrad finds the winning formula of people and tools to be successful. There are 1 million, maybe 2 million wrestling podcasts, and certainly I contribute, but very few are profitable. You know, he started the StarCast Fan Fests. They went well for a while. The one in Las Vegas kind of hit a speed bump there, not so profitably, took a break. You know, there are only so many shoot interviews you want to pay to hear. There's only so many pictures and events you want to pay for. But in typical Conrad fashion, he went back to the drawing board. StarCast 5 is piggybacking off of SummerSlam. You've got all the fun and excitement, all the tourist activities of a Nashville weekend, and the draw of Ric Flair's last match. We've talked about that. But Ric Flair's last match was enough of a draw. They moved it to an either bigger venue. They did the Ric Flair roast. The Rock and Dolph Ziggler sent in videos. And that level of cooperation that Conrad has gotten from WWE and AEW is remarkable. Not to mention all the other companies on the last match card. I mean, that is a pretty amazing time in professional wrestling for those things to happen. But there's another benefit of the digital age that we live in, is the power that it can give people, that you can distribute promotional materials worldwide and easily and efficiently and affordably. You know, Conrad has monetized podcasts, which led to StarCast, but now he's taken that next step and created this template for him to follow, or maybe other people to follow. You know, they do this in Japan, where other wrestlers promote their own retirement shows. Kagetsu, the former Kagetsu, the now Ueshino, promoted what was her, now his last show. Given that Conrad has found other wrestler personalities to do podcasts, I expect we'll see more final cards in the future. Maybe some surprise appearances Sunday night that would lead to other last or retirement shows or other tribute shows. What and who could retire and draw a buy rate? And look, I don't know anything. I'm just spitballing and thinking out loud. And I'm sure they've already thought of these things. I'm sure you have probably thought of these things. I'm not breaking any new ground here. You know, names like Hulk Hogan come to mind, just because he and Ric Flair are so interchangeable and so interconnected. Kevin Nash. Maybe Kevin Nash doing a tribute to Scott Hall. You know, WWE owns all of the licensing to the NWO. But there are ways around it. You could do a tribute to Scott Hall. You could do putting the band back together, whatever you want to call it. There are ways to do it. Maybe put DDP in that package, or do a whole crew of WCW one last Nitro-themed event. These are just thoughts. I'm sure there are more ideas that you could think of, haven't been thought of. Obviously, Sting comes to mind, but does Sting want to go out on his own? Or is it easier just to stay with Tony Khan and do his last event under the AEW umbrella? That might be easier for Sting and just as profitable without all of the hassle. You know, it's pretty remarkable. A lot of people have tried to do events outside of WWE, and not many have succeeded. And a lot of people have had a lot of money. TNA and Dixie Carter come to mind. GCW is having success on its own, but in a different way. But, you know, this Ric Flair thing, I think, has really paved the way. And I think we will see somebody come out. Somebody will tease some sort of event coming up next. Will it be something I don't know. The thing is, the only thing I can think of is that WrestleMania in California is really expensive. I don't know if you can find somewhere as affordable in California. WrestleMania might be difficult. We might piggyback maybe off something else at a different time, possibly. But again, I don't know. Conrad has worked other magic. Maybe he could find something affordable and close in California that could work. Or maybe he got bid in Las Vegas and there are too many pieces of red tape that make it difficult. But could we see Hulk Hogan show up? Could we see Kevin Nash show up? DDP's already there, we know. Could we see some sort of Eric Bischoff thing? Who else does he do podcasts with that's successful? There's a lot of different people. Could we see one last ride of the Hardy Boys? There's a lot of people. You know, Lita's available. Trish Stratus. It's interesting, the people who are under WWE Legends contracts, and maybe people who might find it more profitable not to be under a Legend deal. Or maybe the way Conrad is working everything, he is able to work things where WWE doesn't care. But yeah, maybe we're going to see a lot more last rides. Or WWE is not one to miss out on trends. Ric Flair's last match could lead to many more opportunities for many more people. But I think Conrad Thompson, whether you like him or hate him, has done a lot and is really a very significant person in modern day wrestling. It's very impressive what he's done and what he's able to achieve. And we'll see where he goes as far as StarCast events, as far as more cards and more travel things. It's going to be very interesting, the relationships he's made and who he could bring in the future. Your thoughts on that? 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. There's got to be people that I haven't thought of. There's got to be people that could be out there that we could see their last match. We could see a roast. We could see other events that people could monetize. And they could go out with one big last hurrah. Certainly Jericho could do it, but Jericho would be probably under the auspices with Tony Khan, you would think. But yeah, there's a new digital age where people are able to come out and be their own promoter and get that last big purse, that last big thing before they retire. Fill that 401k, fill that thing, that last big cash grab, get that last big purse before they retire. We'll see where this goes. I think it'll be a trend until the money runs out. We'll see who's next. Someone's going to appear Sunday. That's my prediction. I don't know who, but it will be a what. Speaking of what, Stardom has a new title. I'll explain why coming up next. Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live.
You're clear.
If you're taking a calcium supplement, it's probably not doing what you think it is. That's because you still lose bone density with traditional calcium supplements. That's where calcium from algae comes in. Algae Cal Plus doesn't just stop bone loss. It's the only supplement ever shown to increase bone density in clinical studies. That's right. Algae Cal Plus increases bone density, even if you're in your 80s. That's because your bones need more than just calcium and vitamin D to stay strong. There are actually 13 minerals and 3 vitamins needed to build healthy new bone. And Algae Cal Plus contains all of them, and it's proudly made in the USA. Your calcium doesn't increase bone density. Algae Cal Plus does. Talk to one of our bone health consultants today and see how Algae Cal Plus can start increasing your bone density. Call now.
800-437-8217. 800-437-8217. 800-437-8217. That's 800-437-8217.
Have you written a book? You can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company. Countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their book to the market. Our professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, our authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books, like Amazon and brick-and-mortar bookstores. So make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Don't wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author and seeing your name in print. You've already written a book, so the next thing to do is make this free call right now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
800-485-6003. 800-485-6003. That's 800-485-6003.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. If you've had a revision or removal surgery of a hernia mesh implant after 2008, pay close attention to this message. Hernia mesh manufacturers have recalled some of the mesh material that may have been used in your surgery due to high failure rate. The FDA has even blamed the recalled mesh material for some of the worst of the health issues reported by doctors and patients. If you've had 2 or more hernia surgeries for the same issue and you're having severe complications, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And there's no upfront cost to you. They only get paid if you win. So please call now.
800-817-2968. 800-817-2968. 800-817-2968. That's 800-817-2968.
You are listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live. Somebody on Twitter thinks, what's the worst outcome that could possibly happen tonight? Looking through Twitter, Tammy Sitch is back doing her OnlyFans video gimmick. That's a pretty bad outcome, but I guess it's better than having her behind the wheel of a car. Ugh. Look, if you're paying to see Tammy Sitch naked still, stop. Haven't you seen that enough? You're just encouraging her. The woman needs help. Hey, Stardom has a new title. Just announced this week, the brand new IWGP Women's Championship. The inaugural champion is going to be crowned November 20th at the Ariake Arena. Now, understand that the belt doesn't usurp the red and white belt. So the red belt, still the top title. White belt, still the secondary title, sort of like the Intercontinental title. And this belt is primarily going to be defended on New Japan shows, primarily in the United States. Here's the deal. It's a title created for Western sensibilities. In Japan, Stardom is its own thing, and it's seen as good enough. It's at a high level. It's growing. It's its own thing. It don't need no man. But in the West, fans seem to have this hidden thing where they think that women need to be on the same show as men because men is quote unquote the better wrestling. So women need to show that they're better and be on the men's card. They need that integration. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. One is worse. It's just a different way of looking at things. It's a different culture. The expectation is that you have a women's match. That expectation doesn't exist in Japan. Women are not seen as lesser. I mean, you look at All Japan women 20, 30 years ago. Those matches were incredible. People didn't pander. So this match, this championship, is to integrate Stardom with New Japan for Western sensibilities. Me personally, I think the person who would embody that, either you put it on Julia or you just put it on Mayu because she's the icon and you give the title instant credibility. Those are my thoughts, but I think it's not a bad idea as Stardom continues its success and grows. Follow me on Twitter at Jim Valley. Check out my t-shirt, Because of the Fans, at Pro Wrestling Tees. Go to YouTube and subscribe and like for the YouTube channel. And we will catch you next weekend, next Saturday. It's Jim Valley. As always, Wrestling Observer Live. I'll be back. And as always, I do it all because of the fans. Talk to you next weekend.
And we don't lose this many people in flooding. This is a real tough.
All right, man. Have a good week. I'll
All
talk
right,
to
man.
you next week.
Talk to you later.
More than 400 people by aircraft alone over the last couple of days. The Commonwealth is also receiving assistance from the Tennessee and West Virginia National Guards. China's ruling Communist Party announced it was conducting